Welcome back to theCUBE. I'm Gemma Allen, here at our studio at the New York Stock Exchange, connecting Wall Street to Silicon Valley. Joining me now is Ramin Hasani, CEO and co-founder of Liquid AI. Welcome, Ramin.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, it seems as though a lot of folks are betting on large LLMs. We hear so much about the LLM space, about the monolithic world ahead, right? Just like the monolithic tech world that lay before. You're betting on something smaller, faster, more efficient, and in some ways closer to home for users. Unpack that for me. Tell me, what is Liquid AI and what value does it deliver?
Absolutely. At Liquid, we're building foundation models, as you mentioned, smaller version of foundation models. The goal for us is to, um, really fundamentally, like from first principles, like build AI systems that are like extremely efficient, and we care about where this intelligence goes. So, for example, we can run a Liquid foundation models seamlessly on a CPU, on a GPU, or on an NPU, neural processing unit. These are kind of much smaller kind of computational footprints, computational blocks that you can put them, let's say, like that are powering devices, like a phone, a laptop, let's say a car. So wherever you actually have access to any of these things, any of these formats of computers, you can bring generative AI to these kind of worlds. Today, as you mentioned, large language models and larger instances of the models are mostly sitting in the cloud. What we want to do, we want to enable a hybrid world. We want to enable basically, let's say, the fastest implementation of a foundation model inside a data center and powering also that outside of data center. In a way, we're building like a software layer for any form of computer that developers can take these models and integrate them in their services and build applications on top of them, not just in data centers, but also outside of data centers.
And clearly there is a huge business need and commercial appetite for this, right? Your company, it's been on quite the trajectory. You raised a whopping Series A earlier this year. I think you're 2.5 years old, if I'm correct.
Yes, correct.
Give me the OG story. Tell me how you came to be here.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been like thinking about these things fundamentally, like a decade-long research went into like designing of like fundamentally changing the landscape of foundation models. If you've heard about LLMs and foundation models and generative AI, you probably have heard that the unit of computation there is an architecture called transformers. What we've been thinking about for 10 years of research, we've been thinking about um, how can we systematically reduce the power consumption? Because, like one of the fundamental challenges that comes with LLMs and large language models is the fact that they consume a lot of energy the more amount of data that they process. And this energy consumption goes exponentially high. What we wanted to do, we wanted to take a completely different approach, design from scratch, find out what are those mathematical operators that allows us to design very powerful and efficient AI systems, but substantially reducing the energy cost of AI without sacrificing quality. That was a vision that we had, and we managed to actually get to that vision by building liquid foundation models. Today, liquid foundation models can go into any kind of OEMs, like original equipment manufacturers, let's say consumer electronics, automotive, and power basically generative AI behavior, like for task specific stuff inside of these environments. And they can also power, let's say, very low latency task specific applications of AI in data centers because of the efficiency gains that we achieved with the fundamental breakthroughs that we did. We can bring these systems to perform at a substantially better latency footprint and compute footprint while drastically reducing the cost of deployment of foundation models. For real, we can now access generative AI for domain-specific applications at the level of frontier levels. So you do not need to have a large-scale AI systems to work on, let's say, tasks that can be done by a smaller and a specialized model, this time with lowest possible latency in a private deployment manner because the models are going to be smaller. So you can host them in a private cloud. You can host them on a device. You can host them on a laptop directly. And there are substantial amount of use cases and completely new market gets enabled once you actually walk out of a data center, you know.
Wow.
So that
Well,
and it's complementary to that mission of like really building a hybrid world between the data center kind of deployment of AI in an energy efficient way and sustainable way, and building like basically whatever compute that is available for us outside of data centers. So that's kind of the vision that we want to get to.
well, based on this week's news cycle, one clear use case for Liquid AI is ecom. You've just signed a pretty big partnership with Shopify. Big deal for you, and I'm sure a very big deal for Shopify too, based on everything I've been reading and learning. Tell me about that. Tell me about, the opportunity here, what drove you guys to collaborate like this, and how you see this really adding value for, especially SMB, right? Small business owners, smaller storefronts, who sometimes, unfortunately, get caught up in the wave of monolithic tech, like we spoke about.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, we wanted to deliver to the promise of the value of our technology, like the most efficient, the fastest version of, like, let's say, AI systems for certain applications. If you think about e-commerce, some of the, like some of the most important elements of e-commerce is recommendations, and search. So there's a lot of generative AI that can go inside an e-commerce platform, both from a merchant perspective and a buyer perspective. So the opportunities for generative AI, Shopify has identified like one of the pioneers. Like they have a strong team of machine learning people. And recently with the CTO, Mikhail Parakin, we have been contemplating these ideas of how can we bring these foundation models like in a most realistic way and put them in production at scale for e-commerce applications. And we have been working with the teams for a couple of months now with each other for a few months now, and we got to very exciting places like in our exploratory kind of phase of our partnerships, like initial things. This started like early on, I think back in March. I think like we get started like working with Shopify like on a serious kind of applications of generative AI in the commerce, and soon we observed that liquid foundation models, what we're building, bringing an uneven kind of advantage compared to anything else, like let's say the open source world that is out there, open source models, because Shopify has like a very good machine learning team. They are capable of downloading, let's say, some of these permissible open source models that are out there and basically fine tuning them for certain use cases. But then when we compare the performances of a liquid foundation model as opposed to anything else that is available in the open domain, we saw a substantial gain, not just on quality, but on the efficiency and on the speed
So,
of operations. As an example, we put a project in production. This project is about, let's say the user is asking about, let's say, an unstructured way, like asking a question on the shop app, let's say asking a question about, oh, I played basketball and I saw these red shoes that I really liked and I want to buy this thing, and the user want to put this thing in a language model. It's like today the search applications is going to go broke. Like you cannot get like a really nice answer out of this system. But what you want, you can actually use a generative AI, a text-based, an LLM basically, that can parse this information and get it prepared for the search algorithm for recommending the best results that are coming out.
so
You can complete a full search application in 20 milliseconds. So
okay.
that is unheard of. Like the speed of operations has been really fast. So we are unlocking basically massive value. Humans would not understand like the 20 millisecond latency. So instantaneously, you can bring like the best customer experience forward. That's like one project that is actually going forward.
So
Another,
help me for a second to understand the buyer journey for Shopify, right, or the landscape broadly. To a lot of us using Shopify products every day, it seems though it's already very fast, right? But I guess nothing is ever fast enough in this current moment we're living in. The as is for a company like Shopify was you either build your own, build something proprietary, or work with like a large scale LLM provider, right? Like an Anthropic or one of those really, again, bigger, faster, bigger, but sometimes slower, consequently, technology options, or partner with somebody like Liquid AI. Is there anything like I'm missing in that analysis? Is there, are there other kind of players or other kind of middleware players that kind of enter this RAM at all?
Yeah, great question. So if you think about it, when I was telling you like the latency matter is extremely important. So imagine if you want to put a certain application, we're not just talking about latency for a single client, right? We're talking about for billions of transactions, right? That happen simultaneously on the Shopify platform. How can you maintain a lowest latency for a large language model that has billions of parameters of its own for giving a parallel access to a large volume of clients? So that becomes kind of a much harder problem. So we are solving a unique problem here to really deliver a certain kind of latency profile that is not achievable by anything else. You see, so that's kind of the unique approach that we are taking and the unique value proposition that Shopify would get off of working with Liquid AI and not. You cannot get that from the giants like Anthropics and OpenAIs of the world, because that latency and that scale is something that you need to have like full control over, and it is a complicated, non-trivial task, to deliver at scale. Satya actually says like something that nothing is a commodity at scale, and I really like that quote because it's actually very true. When you think about delivering a service to a large volume of people, even with a small, tiniest version of a foundation model, there is a lot of work that has to go through that platform to really be able to deliver that kind of service to that many requests, right? So that's the unique angle on this specific project.
And it seems as though, broadly speaking, when you look at how transferable this opportunity is outside of Shopify to any system or platform that uses recommender systems to grow business, which many do, there are so many opportunities, Ramin, for you and the team at Liquid AI. How are you approaching the partnership strategy? Are you thinking about, food delivery, taxis, like all of the ways in which we use them almost every minute of our day, right? So tell me, what else is ahead for you guys?
Absolutely. As you know, recommendation is like one of the core components of any online service, right? Like if it's ads, if it's search, if it's products. So anything related to your interactions online, let's say like even on Netflix when you want to watch a movie, like there's always recommendation systems in the back. So recommendation is one of those tremendous opportunities, and enabling these recommendations at scale is something that we are working on with Shopify. And so far, the in the test environments, the quality of the models is not just about the speed that we deliver, but also on the quality. We are matching the quality. We are actually surpassing the quality of what has been out there so far, like from a state-of-the-art perspective. And that kind of ignited like this amazing partnership with Shopify. Now, building on top of this, as I mentioned, like the recommendation is like can go in any web service. So the opportunities are tremendous, and we have already had like massive inbounds of businesses wanting to use the same similar kind of ideas because we are walking on the state of the art on the topic. We try to deliver the highest quality, state of the art kind of quality with the lowest latency. And these are once, the Shopify engagement and partnership and the fact that our models are getting into production, that is a good testimony for Liquid to showcase how much value we can unlock for people, for many different online businesses that are around us, from the big Fortune 500 companies to middle range, kind of middle-sized companies that they want to actually have like they have like an online service in place.
And
So the opportunities are infinite.
outside of speed, what other factors really feed into this? Is it based on jurisdiction, legal requirements, sovereign AI? Like, what other factors would really, make companies and specific industries think, okay, this, smaller, faster, closer option, AI on the edge, if you like, is much better from a roadmap perspective?
Absolutely. So you can think about once you have a small model, like you can run these things local. Like sometimes you can actually run these models on device. In other engagements of ours, like you can think about providing agentic AI behavior. Let's say a system that can book your Uber, as small as that, or a knowledge worker that runs on your device or records all of your activities. As soon as you start talking about data collection and data processing for a user with an online service, regulatory elements and privacy elements becomes important, right? So if you think about it, like imagine if the computation happens on the cloud, only on the cloud, and you have to send the data of the client to the cloud, you need to comply with a certain type of regulations. But if the computation actually happens on device, you can actually be compliant, right? Like imagine if you are providing a service to a client and it runs directly on the device of the client and data never leaves the premise of your user, that's kind of a maximized amount of value. And you do not need to go through the regulatory cycles of getting licenses access for providing a service to clients. Why? Because you're not actually requiring the client to actually upload a certain type of data to the cloud. So device AI is getting generated. Like that's a whole another market for private applications of AI, for offline applications of AI, for let's say regulatory sensitive applications of AI in terms of data. This is the thing that we can enable with the type of models that we have.
And do you think the hyperscalers, I guess, also are catching on to this and are coming for this space? Do you see more and more interest and competition in the whole AI on the edge space broadly? Like, how do you see this playing out?
At this point, I feel like not with a massive focus, but I think they have definitely an eye on it. There's some companies that are actually have been in this field of building devices, like phone manufacturers. They have been like always like working on these on these matters of on-device AI has been like a top of mind for phone manufacturers, for AI PC manufacturers like AMD, and this is kind of the place where it becomes there needs to be a movement. Somebody has to start like this igniting this motion of like on-device AI. So we have started on this journey of building a software layer that allows us to comfortably get out of data centers and enable on-device AI. And I feel like we are in a unique position to actually promote and walk on this path and build basically another generational company that can be complementary to that world of cloud, because the focus of the large companies at this moment is mostly around how can we build kind of larger data centers and infrastructure for the large and big AI, basically.
So tell me, the Shopify partnership is relatively new, very exciting. The ultimate proof of concept, if you like, as you say, and I'm sure the start of many to come. But what's ahead for you and the team, Ramin? You seem to be a man that's all over the world. Based on your LinkedIn, you're in multiple countries a week. Tell me, what are you
Yeah.
guys working towards, over the next kind of 12 to 18 months?
Absolutely. So there are two clusters of verticals of focus we have in mind right now. One is the original equipment manufacturers, OEMs, and the other one is e-commerce and financial services. So we see the value of our technology in these two verticals like very paramount. So our focus is to deliver kind of the best version of an on-device AI that can go on phones, on machines, on robots, on laptops, on satellites, and cars. So we've been focused like working with a lot of companies in this kind of category in one cluster, and another cluster we've been focused on e-commerce. As you saw, Shopify, one example. We are also working with some financial institutions on bringing the value of these extremely efficient foundation models that we have to the market, and because of the speed and quality of the models. So the focus is very much into robustifying our power. We are a small company at this point, like a team of 70 people with high aspirations. Our talent is basically trying to robustify the process, going from our tech and innovations that we do on the state of the art, and making them, transferring them into products, and then taking these products basically to go to market. We started building our go-to-market motion much stronger than before. It's a very good time. We have a lot of inbounds from the clients. So next steps for us you're going to see more and more companies across the two clusters of verticals, OEMs and e-commerce and financial services. You're going to hear more and more how they're going to use liquid foundation models on day-to-day applications, real-world applications of AI inside and outside of data centers.
Well, we'll sure be watching and listening. You say you're a small company, but certainly a mighty one. So we wish you all the best, you and the team. Stay in touch and hope to have you back here in the studio with us, maybe in 2026, to catch up on what's happening.
Yes, thank you so much for having me again.
Thanks for joining. I'm Gemma Allen, here at our CUBE studio at the New York Stock Exchange, connecting Silicon Valley to Wall Street. Thanks so much for watching.